Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Oh, Jerry! Does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week number 8 coming up here on the podcast is Jet Giant week on the podcast. So I thought I'd bring a Giant fan on to do the picks with me here. Alan Austin is here. Alan, how are you?
Mike, it's a big week. Both our teams are not coming off losses. Yours from a bye, mine from a nice, hard-fought, I'll take a dub any day win over the Commanders. So looking forward to this weekend and the rest of the NFL slate as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll get to this in a minute here, but first let's start with the Giant Commander game out here. Obviously, I was bouncing around a little bit because the Jets are on bye. I usually have the red zone on. I'm doing other things here. I'm sure you were locked in here. What was your big takeaway from this Giant Commander game?
That things need to really Rube Goldberg into place for the Giants to win a game this season. I know it sounds harsh, but it really takes a bunch of, Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events for the opponent for us to take away a victory. It happened with Arizona. It happened with Washington, although our defense played great. But it was not a great win. It was a win, and that's all that matters. I'll take it. The uniforms were crisp. I hate losing in those uniforms, so I'm glad we pulled out the victory this past weekend. But it was an ugly win, but a win nonetheless. A great first half, not a great second half. Thank goodness for the defense, which blitzed Sam Howell into a backup role probably in the future. So I'll take it.
Yeah, that's for sure here. And obviously, one thing we're keeping an eye on here for me, that piqued my interest here, is that now we might possibly have a quarterback controversy brewing with the Giants. Because obviously the offense is playing much better the 2 games that Daniel Jones has been out with an injury. Tyrod Taylor is in there. Brian Dable didn't exactly shut it down, but didn't exactly endorse Taylor as like a starter option either. So you're like, what's your read on? Do you think we have a controversy brewing with the Giants quarterback?
In the end of the day, no. Because they're not going to build this team and franchise around Tyrod Taylor. He's not the 4-year, $160 million guy Daniel Jones is. I think one of the reasons Daboll wouldn't comment on it, because if you are going to have Tyrod play again this weekend for whatever reason, you don't want to come out early in the week and say Jones is our guy. You don't want to maybe rock his confidence or not give him that, extra edge he needs to go out there and think, maybe I can steal this job, which, you know what? Right now, in my heart, Tyrod Taylor is the starting quarterback. Gives him a better chance to win, has a better veteran presence at times. I don't want to talk about the goal line at the end of the first half in Buffalo, but other than that, he seems to make the correct throw when needed. He takes care of the ball better than Jones does. When they signed him to be the backup, I was hoping he would win the job over Jones. That was pre-contract. So now with Jones having the contract, I think ultimately they don't have a quarterback controversy, but I feel more confident when Tyrod Taylor is on the field.
Yeah, that's for sure here. And obviously, this is a huge game coming up here in week 8 here at the Jets-Giants game. And obviously, I said at the beginning of the podcast, I think this might be the biggest game for both teams. I think since the Victor Cruz game in 2011, so I'm not reliving as a Jet fan. But what are your thoughts on this game?
Look, I think the Jets are in better shape than the Giants are going forward. I think the Jets need it more. I think the Giants are not as good a team. I think a loss here will just, continue to trickle down the rest of the way. And I also think if the Giants win here, it doesn't necessarily launch them into all of a sudden they're a much better squad. I think this game is more important for the Jets, who are still hanging on to playoff hopes, especially when the Bills just cannot figure it out right now. Dolphins are losing to big name teams. The Jets are still very much in the hunt for the division, and a wild card spot. I think the game is more important for the Jets. I think the Giants are looking for a few more wins this year, but honestly, as a Giant fan, if they're not going to be good, I'd rather lose as many as possible. So I think this game is more important for the Jets, and I think ultimately the Jets will win this game, but I think it'll be a sloppy, low-scoring affair where, both defenses just own the day.
Yeah, I definitely could see that scenario playing out here because for me, I'm looking at this game. I think a lot of people now, the Jets have been off for a week. People forgot what they did. I think I've seen a lot of buzz online about, this is the Giants get right spot. They're playing better, like so on and so forth. Do you buy into that narrative at all?
Ultimately, although I think the Jets will take it, I'm being as unbiased as possible here, Mike. I hope you appreciate that. Okay. As much as I do think the Jets will win, it would be a lie to say it's not a toss-up game. I think either team could win it, but I do think the Jets will. But I could see the Giants riding high on momentum and going in with a certain confidence. It's a home game for both teams, so that doesn't really matter. But I do see if Tyrod and the offense can click a little bit, if he keeps going to Waller, if he keeps going to Wandale for short routes, if they can get the ball out before the defensive line owns the offensive line, then I think it's a real toss-up and it could be any team's game. But if the defense gets through that O-line, which is punctured to say the least, and just continues to just get in Tyrod's face and force errant throws and maybe he doesn't get the ball out on time, it's a Jets victory. I will say, though, that the Commanders came into that game with a underperforming but daunting defensive line, and that weak Giants offensive line held them at bay for the most part. So if they can pull out a miracle again, it could be a tough day for the Jets offensively and defensively. But if all goes according to plan and what I think will happen, it'll be like I said, it'll be a sloppy, hard-hitting, defensive stand kind of game with the Jets coming out on top.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think I'm watching here at the Giants side. I think Andrew Thomas plays again. I think it's much closer than we would initially believe. I think Thomas is the big difference between the Jet pass rush harassing the quarterback all day or the quarterback having a chance to make some plays.
Yeah, if Andrew Thomas plays, that's a big if based on what we've seen so far this season. If he's back and if he's in game shape and if he's at 100% and he's ready and his timing is there and everything syncs, that's a huge, huge plus for the Giants offensive line and does change the dynamic quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what happens here this week, but we're getting to the picks, the reason why you're here. My friend Dan DiMarti was here last week. He had 1-2 on the week. He had the Jaguars getting a point on Thursday night. They won the game outright in overtime. He had the Lions getting 3 in Baltimore. They got blown out there. He had the Commanders laying a 3 against the Giants, so lost there for him, 1-2.
All right. And what did you have last week?
I went 1-2 as well. I was also with him on the Commanders, so that was a miss from both of us here. I had the Bucs laying 2.5, ended up losing that game at the gun on a field goal by Younghoe Koo and the Falcons. I had the Eagles laying 2 on Sunday night against the Dolphins. They won that game handily, so with the assist on the refs, I'll point out as well. So 1-2 for me.
Awesome. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You go first in 1 second. Let's point out on the year, both sides are 12-9, so it's been a tight race so far. So, Alan, you were up first here. Where are you going with your first pick of the week?
So, my first pick of the weekend will be Houston minus 2.5 against Carolina. I don't care that Houston's on the road and that they're coming off a bye. This is a really bad Carolina team, and it's the battle of the first 2 picks in the draft, which has had a clearly superior C.J. Stroud performance so far this season. I really like Houston and Carolina.
Yeah, for me, this is a game I'm staying away from because I want to see it out of the Texans, but they have won the quarterback pick so far, Stroud being better than Bryce Young. But to me, if Houston wants to have a season, you cannot lose this football game. You need to win this game in some form if you want to be taken seriously as a contender in the AFC.
And I think that division's pretty much a wide, other than Jacksonville, there's room to be made for who's going to finish second. And right now, I think it's Houston's division to come in second. So this is like you said, this is a big game to go down that path.
All right, that's pick 1. We're going with pick 2.
Pick 2, I am going with Minnesota plus 2.5 on the road in Green Bay. You talked about the Giants feeling confident after the Washington game. How should the Minnesota Vikings feel coming off that Monday night game against the 49ers? The Packers are not the Packers of old. Jordan Love has kind of come down to earth after a few good weeks to start the season. I just think Minnesota is going to be flying high, and they will outscore Green Bay, thus leading them to a victory.
Yeah, that one scares me because I was terrified picking Minnesota going on the road, short week, division rival. So brave job for you taking it. I'm on no part of that game.
Hey, if we don't take risks in life, then what's the fun?
Yeah, for sure. We're going with pick number 3.
Pick number 3, I'm going with the Falcons minus 2.5. They're coming off that big divisional win against Tampa Bay. They're a scrappy team. They're very interesting. I think they're going to win that division. I think it's going to come down to, who just makes the least amount of mistakes. And although Desmond Ridder fumbles a lot and throws a couple picks here and there, I just like the grittiness of that Falcon team. They've got weapons. They've got momentum, like I said, coming off the division win. and just seeing that team come together, it's been pretty fun. So I'm going to take the Falcons over the Titans -2.5. The Titans, I think, are in dire straits. I know they've played well and occasionally here and there, and they play pretty well at home, but I just don't like the matchup for the Titans. So I'm going to go Falcons out on a limb here, 2.5.
I like that one. I do feel like the Titans are sort of in free fall here. Ryan Tannehill got hurt prior to the bye here. They started trading pieces off here. This could be, the thing that sort of sets off a fire sale in Tennessee for the deadline.
Talk about a fleecing of a trade, getting the safety from Tennessee for late-round picks. Philadelphia is just loading up going into getting ready for the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's for sure here. And I'm up now with my pick. So pick one. I'm going to go to our game here. I'm going to take the Jets laying at 2.5 points here. Like I said, this is a toss-up game. I have less than a field goal. I've been on the Jets in this game, so they're getting undervalued here. I think everybody's trying to jump on the Giant bandwagon way too fast here. I think the Jets are in good spot to win this football game. I think their defensive line will give the Giants headaches here. They have better playmakers on the offensive end, I feel like, as a whole. I think the Jets are playing well. I think they're going to prove it here. Come out of the bye hot, and I think they're going to win this game. So give me the Jets, pick one.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Like I said, I also think the Jets are going to win. If the offensive line holds their ground, it's a real toss-up game. But if I'm a Jet fan, the one thing that really concerns me is Wilson getting blitzed all day, to quote Coach Yost from Remember the Titans. You blitz all day. So if that happens, it could be a long day for the Jets, but I'm with you.
All right, let's pick one here. Pick two. I'm taking the Seahawks laying 3 at home against the Cleveland Browns here. I think the Browns, I don't know what to make of them. They're 4-2, but they've had Deshaun Watson miss most of 3 games at this point with shoulder issues. He had a concussion protocol last week, but they didn't put him back in the game. They lost their second running back, Jerome Ford, to a high ankle sprain to be out of this game here. Seattle's undervalued. I think 3 points at home is not a lot for them because they have a great home field advantage. They can run the ball well. They have weapons on the outside. I think Seattle does well again. I like the 3 with the Seahawks.
I almost chose this game. I'm right there with you. I don't think the Seahawks are this bulletproof squad. I think they have a lot of holes, but I think they're good enough to beat the Browns handedly at home. The Browns are working with some kind of magic right now. It's not Deshaun Watson magic. It's just they are finding ways to win games. Last week's controversial, of course, but I like that pick. I almost went with it. I think it's a slam dunk.
All right, that's pick 2. Pick 3, I'm going to take the Bengals getting 5.5 points in San Francisco's the 49ers last week. And the 49ers last 2 weeks have not looked very good. They have struggled with some injuries. They're not the same without Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel here. They had a bad effort in Minnesota last night here. And Cincinnati had a week off to get ready for this game. There's a lot of motivation for them to play well here. Joe Burrow's getting healthier by the week. They might have T. Higgins back for this game. And you know what? 5.5 is a huge number in this game. And San Francisco tends to play close games against, good teams. So I will take the points with the Bengals here. This one will be closer, I think, if people anticipate.
This feels like your most brazen pick of the 3 to piggyback off my pick from before. But I can see where you're going. I still think the 49ers are a great team. I think what their biggest deterrent is that Brock Purdy is human after all. He's not just some whiz kid who's going to, under Kyle Shanahan's system, be an MVP type candidate. He's come down to earth. The team doesn't look as sharp, but they're still very formidable. This is, to me, your riskiest pick, but I get why you did it. So this is maybe one of the better matchups, if not the matchup of the weekend as well. Being that we're Giants and Jets fans, that's our matchup of the weekend, but other than that.
Yeah, so that's where we're going here for the picks of the week here. Allen, again, reset. He took the Texans laying 2.5 in Carolina against the Panthers. The Falcons laying 2.5 in Tennessee against the Titans. The Vikings getting 2.5 in Green Bay. So 3 road teams for Allen. My picks: Jets laying 2.5 in the regular season Snoopy Bowl. The Seahawks laying 3 at home against the Browns, and the Bengals getting 5.5 in San Francisco against the 49ers. So those are your picks for week 8 here on the podcast. And this is the first of back-to-back weeks of the podcast for Allen, because we're actually going to continue our tradition of reviewing Flaniverse shows on the podcast.
And boy, am I excited to talk about that. You know my love for Mike Flanagan, and his crisp style of filmmaking just continues here with House of Usher, so I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. As I record, I have not finished yet, but we're going to be talking about it early next week. I'll be in the podcast feed next week and talk about that one here. And I've been trying to catch up on some of the Flanagan movies I haven't gotten to lately. I saw Oculus recently.
Oh, okay. What did you think of it?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was a very clever storytelling from Flanagan. It's one of his earlier ones, too, so...
Yeah, it'll never make you look in the mirror the same way. It's solid for sure.
Yeah, I was not able to look in a mirror like the right way for like at least 2 days after watching that movie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Have you seen Gerald's Game?
That's next on the list.
Oh, okay. Look forward to hearing your reaction on that one.
Yeah, I'll try and get to that one before we record next week. But Alan, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure.